All right, well, Marvel Rivals is kicking butt and taking names, showing Western AAA how it's done, and we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty details, the reviews, the gameplay statistics, the estimated owners, all of that stuff, just to show you just how well this game is really doing and how much staying power it really has, because that's something that we haven't seen in a Western AAA game in a while. A lot of these games, even the competitive multiplayer, games as a service style model, is falling flat in Western AAA, and yet Marvel Rivals is just going strong. So yeah, it's a very different environment. It's a very different experience, and clearly, there's reasons why, and we'll get into that as well. Before we do, though, gameplay today is Hellbreak Demo. This is a game that's not as well known as Marvel Rivals, but I'm trying to change that because I try and bring you guys some gameplay footage from games that I enjoy playing that I think you will too. Like I said, link in the description. Check this out at your leisure. It is a free demo, and you can't beat free, so check that out. And let's just jump into Marvel Rivals. Right off the bat, you can see from the Steam page, it is quite a pretty game. It's interesting. It's got the stylistic approach that, favors style over realism. It's more cartoony. It's more comic accurate, I would say. And, bright, colorful, enjoyable, interesting, and attractive looking characters. I mean, it's got everything that Western AAA has not made in the last 10 years. And I think that that's a long way as to why this is so successful. Also, I mean, the gameplay is solid. You've got interactions between characters. You've got good, unique, movesets, unique statistics. Each character has, basically a very comic accurate set of skills. And, that's something that people enjoy. And it's obviously it's Marvel. So very well-known characters, very beloved characters, and they're treated very well in this. It's not like you're going to get a version of Iron Man or Scarlet Witch that looks, modern audienced, as it were. No, they're very attractive. They're very comic accurate. They're like the comics of the 90s, the 80s, very similar to that style. And, people appreciate that. They want to see a good-looking game because, it's something they're going to be playing for hours on end. They don't want to see drab, ugly, and boring. They want to see this. Fun, exciting, interesting. And they've delivered that in spades. And you can see that clearly from the screenshots. I mean, this is a very good-looking game. Very solid, very well polished, and very bright and colorful. And people appreciate that. So with that said, the other thing we can jump into is these reviews. Now, for some reason, Steam purchases is not a viable option. I think that's because it's a free game. So it's the freemium model where you pay to do more and after the purchase. So it technically doesn't register here. We can go into playtime over 10 hours, which is what I did. And coming back from that, 89% of the 35,000 remaining user reviews are positive. If we take that off, you can see that it's 83%. So the more time people are playing this, the more positive the score goes. And that's a good sign as well, because the more time you're in it, the more you seem to be enjoying it, at least, review by review. That seems to be the case. And, most of these are very good. There are some negatives, obviously. Lower end PC users warning, you were at a massive disadvantage. So, don't play it on a potato. And if you think you can go potato mode by lowering all the settings, you're wrong. So there's that limitation. For a guy who has never been a Marvel fan, this game is great. Pros, loads of base roster characters. I'm sure they'll add more. Lots of different abilities and playstyles. Maps are good. Cons, this game, I swear, has some weird shader issues. They might fix that in later. Trust me, it ain't my PC. The combat and movement speed are so off, almost like they don't work together, and they need to make the character's movement a little bit faster. Let's just continue reading here. Overall, for a Marvel PvP, I'm surprised how much they did get right. Let's hope this game lasts. We don't want it turning into something like Multiverses or take the path of Overwatch did. 7 out of 10. So, an appreciable and an appropriate review. Very balanced, very appropriate, and overall recommended. This is a not recommended. Fun game beats others like Overwatch. Unfortunately, NetEase is accounting to the CCP and censoring the game, so I cannot recommend it. Taiwan is a country. The Tiananmen Square massacre happened in 1989. No, yeah, all right. Xi Jinping looks like Winnie the Pooh. So, These are probably things you cannot say because it is a Chinese game, and that is, that is an aspect of this. So, it is what it is. And just like Black Myth Wukong, I said, even with that, if you're not a fan of the Chinese Communist Party, probably don't pick up this game. But, that's not going to stop most people from playing this game because most people don't care about those things. They're gamers first. Their politics matter second. They just want something entertaining. And, if the Western AAA industry was not so abysmally terrible, we wouldn't have to resort to Chinese games to get our entertainment, to have a little bit of escapism and a little bit of fun. So it's still on the Western AAAs to, pick up the slack and actually do something about this. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. So going forward, let's just look at the numbers. Speaking of having this game last, it's lasting. It's pretty solid. Now we've got almost a month here of user data, and it's been pretty consistent across the board. Now release, it started at 444, 430,000, 480,000. That was the peak, and it has kind of gone down a little bit, and now it's picked back up a little bit, and we're at 425 as the new peak of the next phase here. But that's a solid month of playtime, of play statistics, and it is fairly consistent. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see, we're hitting about the same peaks, ups and downs, consistently across the board. So it does have a very long tail, if it has a tail at all. So far, it doesn't seem like it's got a tail yet, but I'm sure it will eventually. But a month of solid numbers like this shows me that that's a very good sign for this game. It means there's replayability. It means that people are coming back to it. Whereas a lot of the other games out there, a lot of the other online games, you would have seen this drop off by now. You would have seen this, this reduction here continue down and settle around maybe 200K in that month of time. But it's not. It's at 400K still. So yeah, like I said, very good sign there. Estimated owners, your guess is as good as mine. I would say probably close to that 14 million, between 6 and 17. That's probably an appropriate number, maybe 10 to 14 million estimated owners on Steam alone. So other platforms, you can kind of estimate from there. But the other thing we're going to look at here is followers. It's been fairly solid followers all the way through. And even after release, you can see it's still gaining steam on the follower count. Now that could very well mean that this is not done adding owners to the game. Like I said, it is free, so owners don't matter as much. Followers don't matter as much, because if you're following it and you didn't just plain old pick it up, it probably just means that you aren't at your machine at that time, and you didn't want to remote install it. So that's probably where those follower accounts come from. But again, it's probably still gaining steam, because that is a sign of it continuing to add interest, continuing to add new players. So this will probably continue on, and it'll probably at least stay level or go down. I don't think this is going to go up, this player count, but who knows? If it continues to gain interest, if it continues to gain steam, you never know. It could hit 500,000 players. It's a possibility at this point. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out, which is just kind of an aside, is, this is built in the Unreal Engine. Now, there's been a lot of, Unreal Engine 5, everything looks like trash in Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine 5 is making bland, boring, stupid games that are super ultra realistic, but they look like crap. This is built in Unreal Engine 5, so it's not the engine's problem, it's the people creating it. And, there is a tendency in those engines to go for the ultra realism mode, because that is what they advertise. They're really pushing that with Unreal. They're really pushing the metahumans, the, ultra realistic skin textures, the ultra realistic, texturing and processing and all of that world building that it has under the hood. So that tended to put stars in the developers' eyes on what they could do and what they could put in their game and how realistic they could make it. But that said, this is Unreal Engine 5 as well, and this is much more interesting, much more entertaining. This is just animated footage. This is the actual game footage, so you can see It is much more what you would expect from a modern game that is stylistic, and you can absolutely do that in the engine. It's just not something that has been marketed as much. So I think there's a lot to be said about the power of engines being able to do something like this, whereas most of the engine, the things coming out in that engine are looking like, boring and gray and terrible and super realistic. But yeah, I mean, it's just an aside. It's just something I found kind of interesting because a lot of people are complaining that, UE5 is turning games to mud, but it's not necessarily the case. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, and Marvel Rivals is a great example of that. So, yeah, I mean, I think we got a winner here. I think, this is another Black Myth Wukong. It's gonna, basically just shatter everybody else's expectations and continue chugging away at this incredible rate, and probably make NetEase games a whole lot more money. But we'll see how it goes, and longer term it could have a tail on it, but right now it does not. And a month of gameplay stats to not have a tail on that is something else. So congrats to NetEase, and that's all I got for you guys. So what do you guys think about Marvel Rivals? Are you going to be playing this? Are you playing it now? What do you guys think of it? It's not something I really played much. I played a little bit of it just to kind of get an idea of the game. I found it rather interesting. It's not my style of game, but, let me know what you guys think of it. And I guess that's all I got. So hope you enjoyed the vid. If you like these kind of things, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you guys later.